7 things to avoid while taking prednisone. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist, and lots of people ask me, what should I avoid while taking prednisone? And so today I'm here to offer 7 or more things to avoid while taking prednisone. Okay, it's not really going to be 7, it'll be 11, but 7 just sounds better, right? The reason I use the number 7 is because it starts with the letter S. And all of the things I'm going to tell you to avoid today start with the letter S. So 7 just made a lot more sense. So first of all, I'm going to cover the most important things. And then at the end, I will cover another common question people have, which is what vitamins should not be taken with prednisone? So first thing to avoid while taking prednisone is smoking. Since prednisone is causing immunosuppression of your body, smoking is even more harmful than it normally would be. So avoid that. In addition, smoking can worsen the possible osteoporosis caused by prednisone. We don't want to do that. Number 2, we want to avoid a shot of alcohol. Alcohol you should avoid while taking prednisone. Alcohol can worsen the osteoporosis. It can worsen the weight gain, and it can worsen the insomnia. Those are the 3 biggest side effects of prednisone, and alcohol can make them all worse. Plus, the alcohol makes it harder to recover your adrenal system after prednisone interferes with it. So number 3 is stimulants like caffeine. This isn't a hard, completely avoid it at all costs. It's more of if you're using stimulants and you don't absolutely need them to function throughout the day, it's best to avoid them. Prednisone is pretty hard on your heart, and caffeine can be hard on your heart too. So definitely avoid the really big, scary, straight sugar energy drinks while on prednisone. Definitely avoid that. But avoiding caffeine in general is wise, but is not a straight X. Next, avoid a shot. This kind of shot, except only the live vaccines. There aren't a lot of vaccines that are live. Most of them are killed completely and aren't going to interfere much. And so they're okay to get. But the live vaccines, there are a few to know about that you should be warned. First of all, the flu mist, the nasal spray version of the flu shot, you should avoid. The injectable version is totally fine. So get the flu shot. I have a whole video in depth all about the flu shot and whether or not to get the flu shot while on prednisone and the best timing. Other shots that are live may include the MMR shot, the chickenpox shot. Most people don't need to worry about the chickenpox shot, but a related shot to that is for shingles, because it's actually the same virus that's causing shingles and chickenpox. And that's usually given to adults who are over 50 who have a stable immune system. But if you are on prednisone, you don't have a stable immune system. And I want to read this important detail, this exact definition from the CDC. They said that substantially immunosuppressive steroid dose, so this is the definition of who's immunosuppressed, is considered to be greater than or equal to 2 weeks of daily receipt of 20 milligrams or a 2 milligram per kilogram body weight of prednisone or equivalent. Basically, what does that mean? If you're taking 20 milligrams or more per day for 2 weeks or longer, or the equivalent of that all squished together in one dose, then you're considered immunosuppressed. And that's when we need to be careful. So if somebody is at risk for shingles, you have a family history and you've had it in the past, then there's 2 vaccines that could be given for shingles. One is Zostavax, and that's a live vaccine, and you need to avoid that while on prednisone. But the other one is called Shingrix, and it's a recombinant of the virus, and it's not live. So you can get it while on prednisone. But here's the deal with all vaccines. The lives you want to avoid, the other ones you can get, but they may not work as well because your immune system is not working as well. You might not have as robust an immune response as you were hoping for. So you may need to be revaccinated after you stop taking prednisone. Talk to your doctor about the best way to proceed. but it's okay to get shots that are non-live shots, which is most of them. Most of them are just fine. Okay, the next, number 5 is NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, which is also known as Motrin, or Aleve, which is also known as naproxen. Those are the 2 big ones to avoid. Celecoxib, which is Celebrex. Those ones you'd want to avoid because it's actually a drug interaction. They are both affecting the similar pathways in your body, and it can lead to an increased risk of GI bleeding, like bleeding in your gut. So avoid that, but it's not black and white. Like, talk to your doctor about it. If the benefit of taking both outweighs your risk for having a GI bleed, then that's something you and your doctor can work out. All right, number 6 is avoid sugar. And this is mostly because prednisone is a glucocorticoid. That's the class of drug it's a part of. Gluco meaning glucose, meaning sugar. So if we are eating simple sugars, candy, desserts, all the things you crave while on prednisone, it's a problem because prednisone is interfering with our appropriate metabolism of sugar. And you're just increasing your risk of weight gain and diabetes while on prednisone. I have a whole long video all about foods to avoid, so check that out if you want to know more. Number 7 goes along with that, and that is another food type to avoid, and that's salt or sodium, because prednisone is causing us to retain salt. And so when we're eating salt, that's making it even harder on our kidneys to get the proper balance of salt and water, and that can lead to water weight gain. So it's just a lot harder for your body to do its job and can increase your risk for high blood pressure and heart complications. So you want to keep your sugar and salt to a minimum while on prednisone. All right, number 8 is stress. So prednisone is mimicking your body's naturally occurring hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is our stress hormone. It is secreted by your body in times of stress to save you, to get you through those horrible, stressful times, such as famine or war. And so when we have extra stress, it's just even more taking a toll on our body. So doing what you can to decrease your stress while on prednisone is wise. Take a break. Like, you're taking a life-saving medication. It's okay to give yourself a break, right? So that's one type of stress. And then another type of stress is number 9, and that is sports. And by sports, I mean extreme sports. Doing normal physical exercise is fine. I'm talking about marathons, Ironmans, triathlons, things that are very depleting and stressful on your body. We want to avoid these because prednisone, when you take it as a drug, you're taking 10, 20, or even 100 times your normal cortisol level. And when you're throwing on an extreme exertion like extreme sports, that's just a lot more toll on your body. Prednisone is causing muscle loss. It's causing issues with the integrity of your skin and bones. You don't want to be putting extra undue stress or exertion on your body while you're taking prednisone, especially while you're taking high doses of prednisone. If you need to be continuing your athletic pursuits, definitely talk to your doctor about this. But I don't recommend, if you start taking prednisone, start gaining weight, and you think, oh, I'll just run a marathon. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. Don't start an extreme sports habit while on prednisone. Your body is already going through enough. You don't need to put it through that much more. Okay, number 10, avoid sick people while on prednisone. So you don't need to avoid, the snotty little kid around the corner. You can go to social events, but what we are worried about is sicknesses that can lead to pneumonia, because heart disease and pneumonia are the biggest leading causes of death in people who take prednisone. And so we don't want to expose you to somebody who has pneumonia. So that could be influenza, which is why you should get your flu shot, and COVID, which is why you should also have your COVID shot. You want to protect yourself from things that can cause pneumonia-like symptoms because you're less likely to overcome pneumonia while on prednisone than if you otherwise were to get it when you weren't on prednisone. Number 11 is supplements. I'm not saying avoid supplements. I'm saying avoid certain supplements. So the first one to avoid is things containing aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide. These are often called antacids, such as Mylanta, Rolaids, or Tums. Usually Tums is okay because it's usually a calcium, but we're talking about the kind that's aluminum hydroxide. And this isn't a hard, don't ever take it. This is more like they did studies and it said some patients have shown as much as a 40% decrease in the prednisone bioavailability when co-administered with aluminum magnesium hydroxide. So basically, if you were to take 10 milligrams, you may only absorb 6 milligrams because 40% of it is being blocked by the aluminum hydroxide. And basically what's happening is aluminum hydroxide is this ion thing, and it basically sucks the prednisone in, and 40% of it's just hiding, and it just goes straight through your gut and you never even get it into your body. So you can do it. You just need to be aware that you're probably not absorbing almost half of the drug that you're taking. Definitely talk to your doctor if you have to take aluminum hydroxide containing things. So that's the first supplement. The second is licorice. So licorice root, or the Latin Glycyrrhiza glabra. The extract of that was shown to decrease the elimination of prednisone in test tube studies. In addition, if you actually absorb the licorice, it has been shown to prolong prednisone activity, which can increase your prednisone side effects. And since prednisone is causing 150 or more side effects, you don't want that. We want the prednisone to fall off normally and not be prolonging how miserable we feel while on prednisone. Finally, if you're taking licorice, it might prevent the immune modulating activity of the prednisone from even working. So it might even be blocking the prednisone altogether. So I do not recommend taking prednisone and licorice root containing supplements. Sometimes they're called adrenal support supplements. You just want to avoid those while on prednisone. Maybe after you stop, that's a totally different story, but not while you're on it. We want to let the prednisone do its job. The third supplement to avoid is St. John's wort. So St. John's wort is often used for people who have depression. And I can totally see that because prednisone often causes depression and anxiety as a side effect. Many other mood changes as well. And so people might be like, oh, I need, a natural way to help me cope with the mood changes from prednisone. Problem is it causes lots of drug interactions. And one of those is with the way your body breaks down prednisone in your liver. And we do not want to interfere, again, with the way prednisone is being broken down in your liver. So let's just avoid St. John's wort while on prednisone. And finally, the fourth supplement to avoid, vitamin that you should not take while on prednisone, is calcium alone. So calcium is being depleted by prednisone. When you take prednisone, your body is messing with the calcium system, and it's causing all sorts of changes to the way your body uses calcium. And if you were to take calcium alone, it's not really going to help your bones, even though that might be why you would take it. What it might actually do is increase your risk for heart disease, because if you only take the calcium, then the calcium isn't being told where to go. It needs messengers. It needs these signals to tell it, go from the blood into the bone, build bone. And if you'd only take the calcium, it just floats around in the blood and can be deposited in the blood vessels, leading to hardening of the arteries. In fact, there's a test they can do. They can do an ultrasound right here of the carotid artery to see how much calcium is deposited there. That's a great test to see what your risk for heart disease is, like how progressed your heart disease is. And if there's a lot of calcium deposited here, that's bad news. So we do not want the calcium floating around in the blood. That's not our goal. Instead, do not take calcium alone. Take calcium with vitamin D. They did a study. An analysis of properly conducted trials concluded that supplementation with vitamin D and calcium was more effective than placebo or calcium alone in protecting against corticosteroid-induced osteoporosis. So if you want to protect your bones against osteoporosis, you need at least vitamin D along with calcium. And the doctors who prescribe prednisone the most, who are called rheumatologists, came up with a guideline. They said they recommend 1,000 milligrams of calcium and 400 to 800 international units of vitamin D per day in the prevention of osteoporosis. And so vitamin D isn't the only thing you're going to need, though. You actually should also have vitamin K2 and magnesium to help drive that calcium into the bone, to give those signals. And so if you're wondering, well, what's the best way to get that? I personally had to take prednisone. I have family members with osteoporosis. I did not want to have those risks. And I felt horrible while I was on prednisone. And I thought of all the side effects I was going through. And I discovered that if we replenish the nutrients prednisone depletes, from calcium to vitamin D to chromium, which is causing the weight gain and the sugar issues, if we replenish all of those, we feel so much better because we're giving our body the nutrients it needs while on prednisone. So I invented a supplement. I call it Nutrinize Zone. It's the first and only supplement for people on prednisone, and it gives back all of those nutrients you need. Plus, I found other supplement ingredients in here to help counteract other side effects. So you just go to nutrinize.com and you can get it today to help support your body while you're taking prednisone. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.